Is BPC-157 safe for women? Now, ladies, you've been left out of the peptide conversation for way too long, and today we're going to change that. I want to be direct with you about something that bothers me about the longevity and peak performance optimization space, because the vast majority of research, especially the online content, is based on these male biology and men's hormones, men's body composition, men's physiology. And you ladies have been left out, and you've been wondering, well, does this actually apply to me? Is it safe for me? Do I need different dosing? What about my menstrual cycle, my fertility, my hormones? So these aren't small questions, and I hear you ladies. I've been following you in the comments, and so, the fact that they've been consistently unanswered, that's a big problem, because, we have lots of women that come into the clinical practice. You are just as interested in performance and longevity and recovery as anyone. And actually, you guys know how to follow rules and be consistent better than most dudes do. So I believe you deserve the same quality of information. I apologize. A lot of this has been built around men because, your biology is so different than men. I mean, I don't need to tell you that. But today, let's do a deep dive on BPC-157, specifically for women. And we're going to look at the history of this research gap and the actual biology of what BPC-157 does, what it doesn't do. We'll look at things hormonally, and maybe we'll give you as much data that exists on safety, and then I'll show you how we build a female optimized protocol inside of the Ageless Future operating system. So let's go. To understand, is BPC-157 safe for women, it needs to be asked because we acknowledge there's this massive gender gap in peptide and pharmaceutical research. Did you know that until 1993, the NIH didn't even require women to be included in federally funded clinical trials? 1993, and I was listening to Guns N' Roses and probably had a mullet at the time, but that's not ancient history. Within the lifetime of most of you watching this video right now, and the exclusion of women from research was systematic, and frankly, it was justified by the kind of logic that doesn't really hold up to scrutiny. Concerns about hormonal variability and complicating the results, and liability concerns around potential pregnancies, and this default assumption that male physiology was a universal standard. It was like, who was the developer and designer of the bra? It was men. So I think tampons too. My wife reminds me of these things frequently. So these consequences, they're still being felt. We have decades of drug and compound research that was conducted primarily or exclusively in male subjects, and then applied it to women with the assumption that it would translate, and sometimes it does. And the only way to actually do the research is to start looking at both sides of it. So while there's not a lot of human data, we'll talk about things mechanistically with BPC-157 and women. And here's the picture. The majority of foundational research has been done in animal models, and I hate to admit it, but many of which were males. But there's a specific female safety study that does exist, and it's kind of reassuring because it was a 2024 human pilot study that specifically enrolled women, which is what we're going to talk about. So good news. The picture is not complete, but it's meaningfully positive. In an ageless future, we want to work with the most up-to-date data that supports everything that we're doing. So here's what I can tell you about BPC-157 and female biology. And this compound has no known hormonal mechanisms, meaning it's working on different pathways. It does not work through estrogen receptors, progesterone receptors, or androgen receptors, which are male hormones. It does not suppress the HPG, that hypopituitary gonadal axis, doesn't impact hormonal signaling pathways that regulate your menstrual cycle and fertility. It doesn't convert estrogen or testosterone or any sex hormone. Its mechanisms are fundamentally different. Think angiogenesis, the formation of new blood vessels and better blood supply, cytoprotection, anti-inflammatory signaling, and tissue repair. These mechanisms are relevant to every human biology, regardless of sex. That's the good news, and it's a big deal because one of the most common concerns I hear from women and our providers here at Ageless Future is, will this mess with my hormones? And when we're talking about a compound that has no hormonal mechanism, the answer is no, not directly anyway. So let's look at this specific female safety study. And this was done, studies in half-life studies for female rats, and it showed that approximately the half-life in these rats was 69 hours, slightly longer than the 66 hours measured in male rats. So what does that tell us? Well, pharmacokinetics may differ slightly between sexes, and that's relevant for dosing considerations, frequency of using it, and keep this in mind, ladies. You get a 3-hour bonus. I wish it was longer because you get to raise the kids, you get to have these massive hormonal fluctuations, and if you're kind of perimenopausal age, I understand what that's like. So you are getting that little bonus. So what they found in the stable gastric pentadecapeptide, that's what BPC-157 is it's got these pleiotropic, cytoprotective, and therapeutic effects. More critically, they looked at the teratogenicity, and they found that there are genotoxic or teratogenic effects, meaning does it cause genetic damage or fetal development problem? And the animal study shows there were no toxic effects. There's nothing that dysregulated the gene expression, nothing that found that there was any kind of issues with safety in these female rats. Now, particularly, they were, looking at the reproductive age of who would become pregnant. And so the preclinical safety evaluation of body protective compound 157, a stable pentadecapeptide, they found that there is actually a study in females. So here's the study. These are female women, not rats, but it was 2024. It was a bladder pain pilot study. There's 12 women. I know it's small, but they all had bladder pain syndrome, a condition that disproportionately affects ladies and has a historical, extremely difficult to treat. The results were pretty remarkable. 80 to 100% symptom resolution and 0 adverse effects reported across all 12 participants. And that's not a large sample size, but there's more human data coming, and we're seeing more and more of that. But the best thing is, from a safety perspective, there is a 0 adverse effect profile in the first female cohort. And that's meaningful data. And I know there's more to go, but the study, this is called The Effects of BPC-157 on Symptoms in Patients with Interstitial Cystitis. So what about concerns around your menstrual cycle, and what about fertility? Well, we don't have long-term human data specifically looking at cycle regularity or fertility outcomes with BPC-157, but we do have a mechanistic picture that doesn't implicate hormonal pathways or safety data that shows adverse effects in female populations that were studied to date. So we operate with appropriate clinical caution, monitoring, testing, and paying close attention to any individual variation. So if you're asking the question, will BPC-157 affect my menstrual cycle? Based on the current data, we know mechanistically is probably no. But anyone who wants to optimize their health and really find the levers that are going to help you heal, recover quicker, and if you're interested in BPC-157, the very first place we want to start is with lab work. So yes, I'm sharing with you some interesting breakthroughs and probably, this theoretical basis that it is safe and there's probably not any hormonal dysregulation. But the very first thing is get your labs ran. And when we run blood labs, we're running comprehensive panels, over 100 different markers that show the health of your hormone, your liver, your cardiovascular system, inflammatory markers, your thyroid. And then we could see all the nuances going on and figure out what is it the cause of any kind of health complications. And if you can have something that can help you recover faster, downregulate inflammation, I'm all for it, because that's going to change not only the way you feel, the way you look, but as you're going through that transition, maybe you're perimenopausal and you're heading into postmenopause, it might make things a little easier. And so, ladies, I do appreciate you. There's more videos to come on for you specifically. I'm Regan Archibald. Appreciate you being here. If you'd like to get your blood work ran, just go to agelessfuture.com. My team will take great care of you. See you on the next video.